Thanks for joining us. I'm Leanie Lambrink. Today is Red Dress Day, a national day of remembrance for missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ people. A report from Statistics Canada in 2022 says more than 6 in 10 Indigenous women have experienced physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. Today, across the country, people took to the streets to raise awareness of the continued violence against Indigenous women in Canada. In Yellowknife, people gathered at the Legislative Assembly and listened as the Yellowknife's Dene drummers sang a prayer song. The large crowd then marched through the Capitol. Here's what some people had to say about this day's significance to them.
Today, we come together to honor those whose lives were taken far too soon and to recognize the ongoing impacts of gender-based and colonial violence. We hold space for their memories and for their families and communities who continue to carry them forward.
We know one person that's been killed, been murdered, been lost in our communities. Every First Nation person knows at least one person. That's really sad, and we have to change that. This day is for the Red Dress Day is for all the people that are missing and lost. We have to make sure and say prayer for their families that are behind, and we always have to talk to them and give them strength and hope that they can move on and live their life, their full life. So we do a prayer song singing about angels in the sky watching over us. Let's see.
Judy Poitras. You know, we have so many women and children and men and that are being killed. It's hard to accept because we value life so much as First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. And if we don't put a stop to it, then it's just going to keep on going. We're going to keep on losing our people. So that's why I'm here today, just to be here in honor of my niece's mother, who was taken away from us tragically, and also lost a niece to drug overdose in Whitehorse, and her mother recently passed away from the same thing. Nothing's been done about it from what I was told from my niece's mother when she was alive, and recently within the last 6 months she just losing people. It's really hard to believe. It's still in shock, grieving. It's really emotional to go through.
My name is Julie Thrasher. It means a lot to not only myself but my family members and basically to the communities in general, because everybody has a connection to someone who's gone missing or lost someone or might be worried about someone, and keeping it alive, keeping the awareness going is important. The significance means a lot to me because my nephew Frank Rubin has been missing, and every day that we miss him, it's hard, but you have to keep the awareness going, not just today, but every day, because somewhere out there there's mothers, fathers, daughters, sons that might be in the same scenario.
Iqaluit residents also marched through the city. The event was organized by YWCA Ugvik, Kudlit Nunavut Status of Women Council and Amautit Nunavut Inuit Women's Association. Janet Brewster is Nunavut's Minister of Health. She's lost a loved one to murder and was one of the speakers at the march.
As Minister of Health, I see impacts of violence every day in our systems, in our communities, and in the lives of those seeking care. My perspective is informed by my role, by my lived experience, and long-standing advocacy in this area.
In the Yukon, community members gathered for Red Dress Day in Haines Junction. A ceremony was held at the Daku Cultural Center. Community members beaded, bonded, and prayed together in memory of friends and loved ones lost to violence. Champaign and Ajiac First Nations member Josephine Boyle led the opening prayer. Boyle still remembers her daughter's friend, Angel Carlick, who went missing almost 20 years ago. Carlick's body was found in a wooded area outside Whitehorse nearly 6 months later. Boyle says every loss hits close to home.
Small communities is we have a closer connection, and that we have families related to other families and extended families. And so when our hands are reached out, we're holding everybody up at the same time. So every community is important.
There's flooding in the Yukon's Klondike Valley. An evacuation alert has been issued to some residents near Dawson City. The alert affects a swath of land near town. Already, some properties in Henderson Corner are flooded. Rock Creek and the Trondek-Wichin Farm could also soon be impacted. Residents don't need to leave just yet. Instead, they should ready themselves to leave immediately. Warm temperatures broke up the Klondike River, and ice flows are moving with its current, then jamming. Now water is starting to breach the banks. Benoit Turcotte is a hydrologist at Yukon University.
Depending on the situation, there might be a way to reduce flooding impact on some properties. So we're just trying to essentially kind of map where the water is flowing, and of course if the water level rises, it's going to start flowing somewhere else. So it's not just as easy as just moving water around, because nature will decide where it goes in the next few hours anyway.
Excitement earlier today in Dawson City. People gathered along the bank of the Yukon River as the ice broke up. Some even jumping in the newly opened water. The Klondike River flows into the Yukon River at Dawson City. The town's chief administrative officer says the ice jams causing the flooding in the Klondike River are too far upstream to be impacted by the newly flowing Yukon River. The company behind the Grays Bay Road and Port project has identified 3 sites with big mining potential. But the spots aren't Canadian-owned, and that's raising questions about how much of the money generated will stay in Nunavut. Sam Watt has a story.
The Westgate Resources Corporation wants to unlock a trove of critical minerals with its Grays Bay Road and Port project, specifically the Isaac Lake, High Lake and Hackett River areas. They're not far from the proposed access road, one part of the Arctic Economic and Security Corridor, but the companies that own mineral assets at those 3 sites, Glencore and MMG Limited, are based thousands and thousands of kilometres away overseas. Now, the Smart Prosperity Institute's Jeff McCartney believes Canada's extraction business is increasingly becoming dominated by foreign players. In theory, that could mean more investment.
What's ended up happening is we also see a lack of sort of longer-term strategic thinking of investments needed to continuing to grow the sector in Canada.
But Brendan Bell, CEO of the Westgate Resources Corporation, says ownership of publicly traded companies changes all the time.
I think our focus is not so much on ownership of the shares of these various multinational mining companies. It should be on local benefits, the things that we can control.
Those things being jobs, royalties and taxes. At the Isaac and High Lake sites, MMG Limited has uncovered rich deposits of zinc and copper, but the China-backed metals producer based in Australia needs a way to transport those minerals for exports.
The Grays Bay Port and Road project is that infrastructure. It would be everything we would need to really go forward on making this project a reality.
He realises people are hesitant about a foreign investor in Nunavut, but he says mines are not cheap or easy to build, and MMG has the experience, and there will be local jobs and partnerships. There are royalties that go to Inuit organisations with mining that happens on Inuit-owned lands, but Aaron Ware, an economist and former NDP MP, believes Nunavut organisations right now aren't getting a good deal.
It amounts to no more than a nickel for every dollar of minerals being extracted.
For example, Ware points to Agnico Eagle's 2024 numbers. By his figures, royalties paid to Inuit organisations, the territorial and federal governments, amounted to only 5.2% of the company's profits.
I think there's also a sense that it's very expensive to build mines or to build anything in Nunavut. And there's a lot of deference to the companies that have invested in the territory.
Agnico Eagle says it's important to look at the complete set of data, which is primarily shaped by its Inuit impact and benefit agreements. In Kuluktuk, the hamlet closest to the port and road project, MLA Simon Kuliktana isn't sure yet what the benefits will be for his community. He says he's seen a good number of Inuit beneficiaries working at some mines in the Katingli region, though few in leadership roles.
I would like to see more local entrepreneurs of how they can play a role in that.
Those benefits will become a lot clearer over the next year. The West Katingli Resources Corporation is working on preparing a benefits package that will include local employment and business opportunities. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Hay River bills itself as the hub of the North. Renewing and affirming that slogan is on the town council's mind, especially with the federal government promising to spend billions in investments for the North. Jocelyn Chappelle has more.
Hay River is home to barges, a skilled labor force, manufacturing capabilities, and other logistical assets. Now, with billions in new federal spending in northern infrastructure projects on the way, Hay River is making its case. The town recently attended a meeting held by the Department of Defense relating to one of those upcoming initiatives. Keith Dowie is the deputy mayor in Hay River. He says going meant being seen and having conversations with the right people at the right time.
We were identified as a satellite location in some of the documents that we had seen, so we wanted to be there and make sure that we were able to insert ourselves into that conversation and help determine what that was going to mean rather than wait and be told.
He says there's many tradespeople in Hay River, and he sees the town providing support in areas like manufacturing, transportation, energy, and potentially training. Hay River is home to Marine Transportation Services main terminal and shipyards. Dowie says this can make transporting fuel and other materials by barge more efficient compared to driving. Along with the terminal, the town has a Coast Guard base and training facility that Dowie says is very relevant to discussions.
Like the Marine Training Center, I think that there's opportunities there. That's already, MOU signed with Coast Guard, and they're starting to take on some of that. And I think that that's big. That could play a key role. I think that there's definitely lots of opportunity in Hay River, and even potentially, warehousing capacity or staging areas.
Carrie Davenport is the business manager for the Western Arctic Marine Training Center. She says the demand for employees in the industry is already high, and that there are many positions related to investments that they can prepare students for, from coastal defense to ferry operations and tug and barge work.
We have the capacity to fill the building with more than one Bridge Watch class. And I believe that once we do have housing in place for our students, we'll be able to offer more and expand and just bring a little bit more community economic development to Hay River in the South Slave region and then the NWT as a whole.
Davenport says as a nonprofit, housing is the limitation they face now, but that the center's focus is looking at how it could work with partners to change that, along with sustaining operations into the future. Jocelyn Chappelle, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Welcome back. The Prime Minister has named Canada's next Governor General. Former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour is a francophone with a long resume. This is Mark Carney's most high-profile selection since taking office. Ashley Burke has the details in Ottawa.
The Prime Minister's latest appointment for Canada approved by the King.
I'm very pleased to announce that on my recommendation, His Majesty has approved the appointment of the Honourable Louise Arbour as the 31st Governor-General of Canada.
Louise Arbour is one of the most high-profile jurists of her time, now set to serve in one of the highest offices in the country.
I'm very mindful of the legacy that I'm stepping into.
Arbour says she accepts the role that includes becoming the commander-in-chief of the military with a deep sense of duty.
I will strive to serve with honor, dedication, and integrity. In the spirit of flexibility.
Arbour is a francophone known for her extensive career. She's prosecuted war crimes in Rwanda and former Yugoslavia. In the 90s, she investigated the mistreatment of female inmates in prisons, and in recent years, called on the government to strip Canada's military of its power to investigate and prosecute sexual assault cases.
Her work matters in and of itself. It also tells us something about what Louise Arbour will bring to Rideau Hall. The conviction that institutions are the load-bearing walls of a civil society, and that they remain trustworthy only as long as someone is willing to hold them accountable.
Arbour was asked about being a unifying figure after some conservatives in the past were critical of her work with the UN on migration. They viewed it as a possible threat to national sovereignty.
I will reach out to anybody who wishes to engage with me, to debate, to discuss. I will listen, and I hope in due course that I will manage to persuade those, particularly those who may doubt my integrity.
Arbour will replace Governor General Mary Simon, who has served in the role for almost 5 years. Arbour's installation ceremony is expected next month. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
It's a step toward Indigenous communities having authority over their own child and family services. That's how Canada's Indigenous Services Minister characterizes $700 million allocated in the federal government's spring economic update. The government plans to spend that money over 6 years to help Indigenous communities implement their own solutions to protect children and families. Minister Mandy Galmasti says the government is taking time to tailor support to different Indigenous groups.
We can't assume that a one-size-fits-all and try to, throw as much funds that you can into one single pathway. You really have to be cognizant that as you do the work, you're learning how you can improve the work. And I don't foresee suddenly the federal government's commitments in this space coming to a halt in any way. We are committed in this space.
Makivik represents Inuit in Nunavik. It's looking at ways to allow residents there to legally run their own youth protection program. That would require changes to the James Bay and Northern Quebec Agreement. Nunatsiavut beneficiaries took to the polls to vote for ordinary members in the Nunatsiavut Assembly. Many of the seats have already been won by acclamation, but there are still races to be decided in Upper Lake, Melville, and Postville. Polls for the 2 local seats closed at 7 o'clock Eastern. The Canadian constituency is also yet to be decided. That's being done by mail-in ballots. The Yukon government has parted ways with another contractor working on a major infrastructure project in Teslin. Graham Infrastructure LP was involved in the New Sutland Bay Bridge project. Now, Highway and Public Works Minister Linda Benoit says it's mutually parted ways with the company. The Yukon Party government has given up 2 contractors working on the project since it was elected last fall. As the lead contractor on construction, Graham Infrastructure LP had completed most of the work to date. Benoit says the recent decision will reduce risk of delays and cost increases. The official opposition NDP say there are unanswered questions around the project.
Well, what went wrong? Right? This is going to require that really thorough investigation about, like, this is how the process went, this is how it was laid out, these were all the decisions that were made along the way, what worked and what didn't work. Because if this was the single biggest project in Yukon's history, and it's gone so poorly. We need to make sure that projects going forward don't go as poorly. And I would expect that the new government would want to understand how we are in the spot as Yukon.
The minister committed to seeing the project through. Benoit pledged timelines and cost updates are to come. After remediation, a tender will go up for the rest of the build. Arctic waters may look the same on the surface, but researchers say what's happening below tells a very different story. Scientists are studying the waters around Southampton Island in Nunavut. They say even small geographic differences can reshape entire ecosystems. Tharsha Ravi Chakravarthi has the story.
Scientists are studying food webs around Southampton Island. They're looking at how energy moves through the Arctic ecosystem. David Yurkowski is a research scientist with Fisheries and Oceans Canada. He says one of their goals is to understand how ecosystems could change as the climate warms.
Food web is basically a link or a network of links between different species. And those links, I guess what represents those links for both predators and prey of who is eating whom within that system and how energy is transferred throughout that system.
Yurkowski says there is a lot of variability in marine ecosystems depending on which part of the island coast you look at, and how wildlife behaves in one area could be completely different from how it behaves elsewhere. Dino Bruce is a hunter in Coral Harbor. He says both the local Inuit and the marine life have adapted to major changes in their ecosystems over the last century.
I remember when I was, younger, we wouldn't start seeing walrus until the month of March and April. But now they're around all year round, like 12 months of the year.
Yurkowski says understanding these changes will be key to protecting Arctic ecosystems. Researchers say combining Inuit knowledge with scientific research is essential to understanding how the Arctic is changing and what it really means to protect it in the future. For CBC News, I'm Tharsha Ravi Chakravarthi.
Beaver populations are growing in the Arctic, and according to experts, it's a problem. A new study is highlighting just how much the creatures are impacting the North. Bianca McEwen reports.
Growing up, Kevin Airy says it used to be a treat seeing beavers in the Nunavut region. Now?
They're like everywhere. You see too many of them.
Airy is an Amiruk monitor whose job is to protect wildlife and land along the Inuvik-Tuktoyaktuk Highway. He says there's so many beavers, he's even seen the normally freshwater creatures in saltwater.
A beaver was just swimming by the cabin. I took a picture of it, a little video. No, I mean, I've never seen a beaver before like that swim in the harbor at single point in my life, so that was a first for me.
What Airy sees every day is reflected in a new study in the journal Ecosphere. It shows new evidence for beaver expansion in the Arctic as early as 2008, using satellite imaging and cut shrub rings to see when beavers were in the region. Helen Wheeler is the lead researcher on the study.
So it helps us to kind of piece back into history and get an idea of what happened before we started our research, to kind of get a window into the past in terms of when were beavers at this location? Were they permanently there, or were they just there on and off?
Airy says the beaver population is growing because very few people hunt or trap the animals or use the fur in any way, and the beavers and their dams are impacting the land.
Our traditional traveling routes and what we do for a living, or fishing or hunting, it's making obstructions, moving water, making the rivers act differently, and like I said, we live this, we're here, we do this traveling on the land, we live it, we see it, it's noticeable.
Airy says this beaver issue needs to be addressed and that data collection can help inform solutions.
We could collect data for ever and ever and ever, but collecting data does not change or fix our problem, right?
He's calling for the Inuvialuit and Gwich'in settlement areas to work together to find a solution so that traditional lands can be used for the next generation. Bianca McEwen, CBC News, Iqaluit.
There was a French public speaking competition in Yellowknife today. Students from across the NWT headed to Calvary Community Church to compete.
Augmente les risques de développer
Participants say events like this one highlight the growth of the Francophone community, especially at a time when French language programs in the territory are seeing cuts.
Despite these cuts, the people that are still there are still fighting for the language, still fighting for their rights to be able to express themselves and to get services. So I would say I'm very proud of the Francophone community for continuing to show up and continuing to ask for services in French and organize these events and have volunteers.
Recent budget decisions have impacted elementary programs in Inuvik and Fort Smith. Bennings says while she's worried about the cuts, she has faith in the Francophone community. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/north. Thanks for watching. I'm Leanie Lambrink. Have a good night.